Prime Minister Narendra Modi shared the vision of New India at the United Nations General Assembly. The Prime Minister asserted that the various welfare schemes initiated by his government gave the world new hope for a better tomorrow. Prime Minister also shared that India was one of the leading nations in the fight against climate change. Addressing the 74th session of the UNGA, Prime Minister Modi exuded confidence that the experience from these projects could be beneficial to those nations who, like India, are striving for development. Prime Minister Modi, though, stayed clear of any mention of Pakistan, but exhorted the international community to stand united against terrorism, which he described as one of the biggest challenges, not just for any single country, but for the entire world.
आज से 3000 वर्ष पूर्व 3000 वर्ष पूर्व भारत के महान कवि कणियन पुंगुन ड्रनार उन्होंने विश्व की प्राचीनतम भाषा तमिल में कहा था, यादम उरे यावरुम केडीर, यानी हम सभी स्थानों के लिए अपनेपन का भाव रखते हैं और सभी लोग हमारे अपने हैं। और ये 3000 साल पहले की बात कर रहा हूं। देश की सीमाओं से परे अपनत्व की यही भावना भारत भूमि की विशेषता है। भारत ने बीते 5 वर्षों में सदियों से चली आ रही विश्व बंधुत्व और विश्व कल्याण की उस महान परंपरा को मजबूत करने का काम किया है। हम उस देश के वासी हैं जिसने दुनिया को युद्ध नहीं, बुद्ध दिए हैं, शांति का संदेश दिया है। और इसलिए हमारी आवाज में आतंक के खिलाफ दुनिया को सतर्क करने की गंभीरता भी है और आक्रोश भी। हम मानते हैं कि ये किसी एक देश की नहीं, बल्कि पूरी दुनिया की और मानवता की सबसे बड़ी चुनौतियों में से एक है। आतंक के नाम पर बटी हुई दुनिया उन सिद्धांतों को ठेस पहुंचाती है जिनके आधार पर यूएन का जन्म हुआ है। और इसलिए मानवता की खातिर आतंक के खिलाफ पूरे विश्व का एकमत होना, एकजुट होना मैं अनिवार्य समझता हूं।
My colleague Gaurav Sawant, senior executive editor, in fact, is now joining me live from New York. He is, of course, standing by for when that moment comes when India exercises its right of reply at the UNGA. Gaurav, we believe that the newest diplomat in the Indian mission at the United Nations, First Secretary Vidisha Maitra, will be, in fact, exercising that right of reply. When is it expected?
So anytime now we expect the right to reply. So far, foreign ministers of various governments were speaking. All the foreign ministers have now spoken. So now the right to reply will begin, and anytime now India will respond to Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan's rants on what's happening in Jammu and Kashmir. What is extremely critical at this point of time is to see the contrast between what Prime Minister Narendra Modi said, raising India's level, at the world stage, when he talked about steps that India has already taken, whether it was solar power, renewable energy, Ayushman Bharat, the biggest health insurance scheme across the world, or even schemes other than like Ujjwala Yojana, which are beneficial for women and in rural and urban areas. Contrast this with Pakistan's Prime Minister, whose rant was almost entirely on nuclear saber rattling, Kashmir and what's happening in Kashmir, and his so-called threat or warning to the world that either you get India to talk to Pakistan, or there's a fear of a nuclear war. So this is something that just indicates the huge contrast in the worldview of India, a global power, and Pakistan, where the Pakistani Prime Minister has taken the stature of his country to a new low, Polami.
Absolutely. Imran Khan, they're almost shocking, Gaurav, that he used the platform of the United Nations General Assembly to warmonger, to talk about conventional war, to talk about nuclear war, almost exposing what Pakistan stands for.
You're absolutely right. And look at Pakistan's entire approach during this United Nations General Assembly session. From the moment that Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan landed here in New York, incidentally on a borrowed aircraft from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, because Pakistan does not have enough money for its own aircraft for PIA to fly into New York, Pakistan has been ranting like a stuck gramophone record on Jammu and Kashmir, day in and day out. Every platform, every fora, whether it's those influential think tanks or bilateral talks, Polami, Pakistan's Prime Minister is only ranting about Kashmir, so much so that there is some kind of the world's actually getting cheesed off by Pakistan's rants. They have nothing positive to offer at such an important multilateral platform. And contrast this with India, whether it's the Swachh Bharat mission that on the 2nd of October, India will be declared open defecation free, or Ayushman Yojana, the biggest health insurance scheme, or Ujjwala Yojana, or the, linking bank accounts, direct benefit transfer with the Aadhaar card. These are examples that India has already tried, implemented, and these can be implemented by the developing countries across the world. So there is a lot of traction if what India is saying, and absolutely from what we've been able to gather, no traction for Pakistan's rants, Polami.
Right. Gaurav, stay on with me. Now, while Prime Minister Modi showcased his absolute statesmanship at the United Nations General Assembly, Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan embarrassed himself once again. Not only did he fumble throughout the speech, he also threatened more Pulwama-like attacks against India. But that wasn't all. The Pakistani Prime Minister even threatened nuclear war. Indian Prime Minister talked about peace and harmony for the entire world, but the Pakistani Prime Minister only talked about war. Isolated, insulted and completely frustrated, Imran Khan went on a rant against Prime Minister Modi and even the RSS. He, however, also went on to admit that the Pakistani army indeed trained jihadis. He also failed to address the United Nations about the persecution of Uyghur Muslims at the hands of its all-weather ally, China.
हम उस देश के वासी हैं जिसने दुनिया को युद्ध नहीं बुद्ध दिए हैं, और इसलिए हमारी आवाज में आतंक के खिलाफ दुनिया को सतर्क करने की गंभीरता भी है और आक्रोश भी.
Supposing a country 7 times smaller than its neighbor is faced with the choice, either you surrender or you fight for your freedom till death, what will we do? I ask myself this question. And my belief is, La ilaha illallah, there is no God but one. And we will fight. And when a nuclear armed country fights to the end, it will have consequences far beyond the borders. In the 80s, Pakistan had joined the Western countries in what was the freedom struggle then in Afghanistan against the Soviets. And it was funded by the Western countries. These Mujahideen groups, which were treated in guerrilla warfare, were trained by Pakistan Army funded by the Western countries and especially US, and they waged what was a freedom struggle in Afghanistan. The Soviets called them terrorists. We called them freedom fighters. We thought that it's their election coming up. It's a nationalist, ultra-nationalist party. It doesn't want to cozy up to Pakistan. So we thought, okay, we'll wait till the elections. Meanwhile, a 20-year-old Kashmiri boy, whose father said was radicalized by the security forces in Kashmir, blew himself up on an Indian convoy. Immediately, India blamed us. I spoke to the Indian public on television. I said, if you give us any iota of proof, we will immediately take action, because we've clamped down on these groups. Rather than sending us any proofs, they sent their jets in, they bombed us. We retaliated. A jet, 2 of their planes were shot down, 1 pilot bailed out in Pakistan. We immediately returned the pilot, saying that, look, we do not want any escalation.
My colleague Gaurav Sawant is still live with me from New York. Gaurav, just to look at this objectively, how was Imran Khan's 50-minute long address to the United Nations General Assembly received overall? Did it manage to create any sort of traction?
Well, not even in Pakistan, and that is why Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan appears to be under tremendous pressure. Pakistan's Prime Minister has been using the same rant of a nuclear blackmail, of a threat of conflict between India and Pakistan, and an impact that will be felt not just along the India-Pakistan borders but across the world. But you know, a large number of diplomats we've been speaking to, and not Indian diplomats, they say that Imran Khan actually sounds like a nut job, to quote one of the diplomats. He says because the world is actually getting very cheesed off with all this nuclear talk by Pakistan. Pakistan is expected to take action against UN-designated global terrorists like Hafiz Saeed, Masood Azhar, close down camps like Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed and Jamaat-ud-Dawa. Very simple steps Pakistan needs to take, incidentally, to remain out of the Financial Action Task Force blacklist. But Pakistan hasn't taken those steps. This nuclear saber-rattling today was Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan's, in a way, as some diplomats seem to indicate, his swan song. Pakistan's Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi is already sniping at his heels, and Imran Khan could well be in trouble when he goes back to Pakistan, because despite his high-octane rant, he's been able to achieve absolutely nothing. As he himself confessed, there is no pressure on the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Kashmir, and that Pakistan has so far failed to evoke any response at the UN parliament.
Right. Gaurav Sawant there reporting from New York. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, it was expected to be Narendra Modi, Imran Khan showdown at the United Nations, but the contrast between the speeches of the Indian and the Pakistani Prime Ministers could not have been starker. India Today's path-breaking innovation speech Analytica has done a word-by-word comparison of Prime Minister Modi and Imran Khan's addresses. While Prime Minister Modi, in a 16-minute speech, reached out to the world and spoke about development, environment and peace, Imran Khan's 50-minute speech was focused on Islam and, predictably, Kashmir. Now, India Today's Gaurav Sawant spoke to Tulsi Gabbard. She is a candidate for the Democratic nomination for the President of the United States in 2020. Gabbard met Modi on the sidelines of the UNGA. Listen in to what she has to say.
How was your meeting with the Prime Minister?
It was very productive. It was a conversation covering a whole span of different issues that are of concern to both of our countries, and seeing how we can together tackle things like climate change, protecting our environment, some of the economic challenges and opportunities that exist before us, as well as the security environment that we're facing in the world.
So did you have time to get into any of the specifics? Because these are some of your core areas of expertise and not just national security, but were there any specifics?
Well, I think one of the most important things that we recognize is the long-standing partnership between the United States and India that has crossed partisan lines, you know, through both Democrat and Republican administrations, through both Democrat and Republican leaders in Congress. The long-standing relationship of the United States and India has remained a focal point, which I think is important that we continue.
Now, not only did Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan resort to warmongering at the UNGA, he also embarrassed himself. While Imran Khan's speech was all about Prime Minister Modi and India's alleged human rights violations in Kashmir, Imran Khan could not even remember Prime Minister Modi's designation, calling him President Modi instead of Prime Minister Modi. Imran Khan was once again left red-faced, even as he tried his hardest to dupe the world community.
Immediately, when my party came to power, the first thing we did was to immediately reach out to India. And I spoke to President Modi, and I said, look, we have similar problems.
Thanks for watching the video. For more such news and updates, please like, share and subscribe to India Today. Also check out our other great videos from our channel. We know you would love to.